To celebrate National Apprenticeship Week, the team and I thought, what could we do to celebrate apprentices across the country? And that's why we are so proud to actually invite 2 apprentices on a special edition called Raising Stars My Duvet Flip. Are you ready? This is a special one today, isn't it? Because normally on My Duvet Flip we have a CEO who have been there and done it, but you are actually doing it now, which is really exciting.
Hi, my name's Natasha Taylor.
My name is Bella Cox.
I'm the Consultancy and Partnership Lead at CIPP.
I'm a Payroll and Pensions Manager at Cox & Co Payroll Solutions.
And we have over 7,000 members.
We have 8 employees and this is for the Duvet Flip.
What did you do to stand out to get a job?
Just be open-minded about what you're applying for.
You've got to be willing to invest your time into the organisation as well as them giving it to you. You have to put yourself out of your comfort zone. Even if you're introverted, you have to put yourself in a situation. You get that qualification, you get your experience and you earn money all at the same time.
You have to be good at maths.
I'm not. You can be in the payroll industry, but you don't have to be processing payroll. You can be doing anything.
But when you surround yourself with diversity, your world gets bigger.
Yeah.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of the bed in the morning to flip the duvet? So welcome to My Duvet Flip. How are we?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've got my got my water. I used to love English breakfast tea, but I'm on a diet at the moment, so just hot water, fasting, and but you know what? Water tastes okay.
Is it?
Yeah. It's
Out of the mouth, is it better?
It is better. But this is a special one today, isn't it? Because normally on My Duvet Flip we have people on the show who are CEOs who have been there and done it, but you are actually doing it now, which is really exciting.
It is, yeah, it's very exciting to be here.
So I want to start a little bit about, how did you get to where you are today? Your career journey. Like, where did you start? What was your first jobs? Should we start with first jobs? The first job that paid you a bit of money.
Oh, yeah. I was a sales assistant in Topshop. That was my first job. Christmas temp, classic. Yeah, long time ago now. And then I worked in a shop in Bristol city centre. And then, just kind of worked my way up from there.
And what was it that made you want to get a Saturday job and earn a bit of money? Was it earning a bit of money? Was it experience? Was it boredom? Because a lot of people do go and get jobs for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
For you, what was it?
I think it was just to be a bit independent and get a bit of money, learn to drive and just become my own person. That was the main thing, and I think my parents were probably like, go out and get a job, so that obviously helped. But
And what is your advice to anyone who may never had a job before and now they're looking for it to go and try and get some work? What's your advice? Because it's become a lot harder for people to go and get a job.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many applicants. There's this thing called AI that's everywhere online that can you think you're speaking to a human, but you're actually speaking to AI agent or something.
Yeah.
What is your advice when it comes to, what did you do to stand out to get a job?
I think just be open-minded about what you're applying for, I would say. Knockbacks are hard, rejections, even if they're from a computer, it feels personal, but I think you just have to, put it behind you, move on. So I would say be open-minded about what you're applying for. Don't take setbacks personally. I think everyone in this room, probably everyone in this building has been rejected for a job once in their life, so it's not personal. Just kind of see what's about. Yeah, just be yourself. I think it's the most important thing. If you getting a job, they're going to want you to be you. So I think that's the really important part.
I totally agree with you. Rejection is redirection.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like that. Yeah.
And as long as you, whether it is the robot or whoever's saying no to you, it helps you redirect to the next thing.
It really does. Yeah, it does definitely, and it just kind of sometimes it levels you a little bit, and I don't think that's ever a bad thing, really.
I agree.
So yeah.
And Natasha, what about you? What was your first job? And
Very similar, actually.
Same job?
Yeah, working in Primark.
Cool.
So did that. I was only doing it for about a month actually before I did get my first apprenticeship full time. But first ever job working in Primark on a Saturday, just 4 hours a week. and very similar. It was just for the independence. After finishing school, just wanted to do something. I didn't want to sit around. So yeah, a bit of independence, and it's always nice to have a little bit of pocket money as well.
And when you got your first pay slip, did you ever know that you would then be in the industry?
No, oh God, no, absolutely not. No, my dad owns the company that I work for, so he was doing payroll back when I had my first job, and I remember thinking, I don't want to do that. You know, he talked about it, and I was just like, that. Oh, good luck to you, but that's not for me. Do you know what I mean? So no, not at all. It's crazy, really, how it kind of comes around, and you end up doing something you don't really expect, or at a later point in life you choose to go into that. So yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, my first pay slip, I think it lived under my bed for probably about 10 years.
I think I've still got some of mine.
Well, we heard from Jason that it's a legal document. So and I didn't know that, and there's so many people across the country that don't know that actually your pay slip is a legal document, and you have to treasure it and look after it, right?
Yeah, you definitely have to be able to access them. And I think it's really important to be able to see them as well, and to have an understanding of them. So yeah, definitely need to have access to your pay slips.
So Natasha, where did you go next? So Primark, Saturday job.
Yes.
Like, what happened? So you was working there on a Saturday?
Yeah, working there on a Saturday. I did start college, but quickly decided that weren't for me. I'd already been applying for some apprenticeships. So about a month after I started college, I left to do my first apprenticeship, which was at CIPP.
And why was the college not for you? What was it that made it not for you?
I think for me, with college and university, it takes such a long time to get to a point where you're qualified, or that you have that degree and you still have no experience to go along with that. I sort of wanted to fast track my career almost, a little bit of impatience. I wanted to be working right away and get into the world of work, whereas it felt like a long time being at college and then university. That's 5 years plus, depending on what degree you do. And I didn't have that level of patience. I wanted to get working and get into it, basically.
And what is your advice to anyone that may feel that they've started college, obviously they come back after Christmas break, and that may feel like, actually, this is not for me? Did you seek advice? Did you just say, you know what, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm just going to quit? Because I don't think quitting's bad, actually. I think that you can actually quit and then move towards something that makes you happy. That's the best thing that can ever happen. But what's your advice to young people who are tuning in, who are thinking about quitting something or changing direction? What should they do to make sure they're making the right decision?
I think you need to do your research. I think that's the most important thing, and I certainly did that when choosing my apprenticeship. I researched the apprenticeships, I researched the organisations that I was applying for to make sure that it was the right fit for me. As much as I knew I didn't want to be at college, I didn't want to make the wrong move, so I did my research, and I think that is really important to do. Regardless of whether you want to stay at college, whether you want to do an apprenticeship, whether you just want to work and not have the qualification to back it up, you need to do your research and make sure the decision you're making aligns with what you want to do, whether that be short term or long term. So yeah, definitely do your research on what you're choosing.
Question for both of you: how do you do your research? Like, what do you research? What do you do? Because there'll be young people tuning in now thinking, you know what, you're so right, Natasha, go and do your research. But where do you start, and who do you, what do you search? Bella, what do you think in terms of research?
I think the internet is a great place to start. I think go to websites that, business websites, things like that. Get on LinkedIn, that kind of thing. Look at the people that work there. What kind of thing are they saying? What are they like? I mean, obviously you can't really tell from a social media presence, but sometimes it gives you an idea. Some places you might be able to go in and say, can you show me around? I'm thinking of applying here. That kind of thing stands really well when you're applying for jobs, and it looks really good on an application. That kind of thing, really. Just find out whatever you can about the place you want to apply for, I think.
Why LinkedIn? Like, isn't that for when you got a job and you're a bit older?
Historically, probably, but not anymore. I think, LinkedIn is such a huge social presence now. It's got everything on it. It's not just people posting about jobs. Sometimes it's people posting about their personal life and how that relates to their job and that kind of thing. So it really does give you a good idea of the kind of people that will work at a certain place. And yeah, I think it just is such a useful tool. So even,
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
I always say to young people, do you have a LinkedIn account?
Yeah.
What would I put on my LinkedIn account? Well, even if it's just following interesting people, because every company has a culture.
Definitely.
And every organisation will be able to teach you something, whether you want to be there or not.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, you can get a really good idea. And even if you've, reached out and said to someone who works there, I really like the look of what you do, that kind of thing, it really puts you ahead of other applicants, or it puts you in the forefront of someone's mind, I think.
I'm going to ask you a question about reaching out in a minute, but how would you research? How did you go about researching?
A lot is based online. Something I particularly looked at was whether they offered an apprenticeship programme away from the qualification. So not just you work here and your junior qualification on the side, it's how do they integrate that into the actual daily role. And you can tell a lot about that from the actual job advert itself. And the more job adverts you read, the more you can get a grasp of whether it is just a job with a qualification or whether they do actually care about your progression, about integrating that qualification into your role, about offering you other opportunities as well. So that was definitely something that I took into account when applying for apprenticeships, is are they going to treat me actually like an employee? Are they going to give me additional opportunities? Where do I go after the apprenticeship's completed? They were all things that I researched from the job advert, from the company website, and they were questions I asked if I got to interview stage as well. How does this qualification integrate in my role? What opportunities and progression is there available afterwards, to make sure that they actually cared about me as an employee, cared about my qualification, my progression, and that I weren't just cheap labour, essentially. So yeah, definitely looking at what the company offers you as an individual, because ultimately it's got to work for you. As much as an apprenticeship, it's still got to work for you regardless of what age you are.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because that is still a tarnished word, cheap labour, when it comes to apprenticeships. Because obviously back in the day it was more for trades and plumbing and building. And when I hear that from anyone say, they just want me for cheap labour, I go, no, they don't. Trust me, the investment and the opportunity to actually grow, if you're willing to grow, is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be willing to invest your time into the organisation as well as them giving it to you. And that's why it's important to do research to make sure that you aren't just going in and being a number. The same with any job, that's not just apprenticeships, but to make sure that it goes both ways. What you're putting into the organisation, you're also getting back. So yeah, definitely.
Reach out.
Yes.
LinkedIn, applying for jobs. How do you go about reaching out for an apprenticeship?
I think it can depend on the kind of person you are. If you're, a little bit extroverted, a little bit out there, you can, maybe pop into somewhere. If you're less so, approach someone on LinkedIn. You could, connect with them and then send them a message, that kind of thing. I've not personally done that, but I know people who have, and it has worked out really well for them, and they've ended up, finding out more about a company and then, being remembered when they go to interview and things like that. So, I think just have the courage to do it. It's scary, but, you don't get, so.
Absolutely. And I'm hearing a clear message here. Whether you're extroverted, introverted, it doesn't matter. No. Everyone has their different ways of approaching a job application, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely. One way of doing it as well is approaching the hiring manager directly. Sometimes they'll put that in the job adverts where you can find that information easily, and they'll have a chat with you, and that's again a really good gauge of how suitable that role is for you. Again, how the company reacts to that sort of thing. And sometimes you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone. Even if you're introverted, you have to put yourself in a situation where you're not comfortable doing it, but it puts you in the best stead then to get that role and get those opportunities. So yeah, you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone sometimes, but it's for the best.
And hiring manager, what is that?
That's the person that is responsible for hiring that individual. Likely will be their line manager, but definitely the person responsible for hiring that role.
I've got a big question. We've been talking about apprenticeships, but what is an apprenticeship? What do you see as an apprenticeship?
An apprenticeship is an opportunity to earn whilst you learn, pretty much. I think it allows you to be in a job and train at the same time without taking up any of your outside of work time, because I think that's a big thing, work-life balance, you know, and it used to be you'd have a job and then you might need to train outside of that. That's not what apprenticeships are. Your employer has to give you time on the job in order for you to study. That's what I would say an apprenticeship is.
Would you sum that up well?
Yeah, very, very, very similar. So there's 3 elements to an apprenticeship. Your actual job role, you've got your evidence, so that's evidencing different criteria to make sure that your job role meets that, and then the qualification as well. And it is an opportunity to earn as you learn. You get that qualification, you get your experience, and you're earning money all at the same time.
That sounds good, doesn't it?
It's really good.
Earn while you learn, rather than pay while you learn.
Yeah, definitely better.
And can you go to uni and then do an apprenticeship, or vice versa?
Yeah, absolutely. I went to uni and I got a degree, a psychology degree, and then I realised that actually I had no experience in psychology outside of my qualification, pretty much, and it was really hard work to get a job in the field that I wanted to get a job in, because I had no experience, and they were prioritising students who had experience and a qualification. Unfortunately, I didn't have that, so I went off and got a full-time job in the NHS, and then, you know, years later I came back and I said I want to do payroll and I'm going to do an apprenticeship.
I bet your dad was happy.
Yeah. Actually, he was like, oh god, no. But yeah, so it just worked out really well, and obviously at the time I knew absolutely nothing about payroll, so it was kind of like I had to do some sort of qualification, and the apprenticeship, the level 3, has just been fantastic. It is earning whilst you learn. I know it gets used all the time, but it's so true, and it really opens that up to everyone then, doesn't it? If you can't take training unpaid, I mean, I don't know many people who can, but you could be any age, you could do it in anything. It's completely any order you want. You could be 50 and decide I'm going to do an apprenticeship. Absolutely, you can. So
absolutely.
And then you can go to university with an apprenticeship as well. Yes. So my current apprenticeship, I'm at university to do that apprenticeship, so I didn't go to university at the standard age you typically would after college, but I am at university now, so I've done it the opposite way around, or I didn't go to university when I was younger. I'm doing it now whilst I work.
So there's loads of paths and ways to move forward, right? Yeah. Because yet again, another fact bust and myth that we're doing here is that you don't have to just do a uni, or you don't just have to do an apprenticeship. You can do an apprenticeship and then go to uni later, or go to uni first and then obviously do an apprenticeship later, or just do an apprenticeship, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to go to uni.
No, definitely not. And it's not age restricted either anymore for apprenticeships. You can be any age and do an apprenticeship. So whether it is that you're leaving college, leaving uni, later on in your career, or you want a complete career change, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can do an apprenticeship at any point in your life or in your career.
What's one tip that you've got to anyone tuning in, regardless of the age, in terms of applying for an apprenticeship today?
Oh gosh.
I think for me it'd be to demonstrate your personality whilst remaining professional, but a lot of the time when you're doing an apprenticeship and you're applying for that, they're not necessarily looking for the experience, they're looking for someone that fits that role, that fits the qualification and what the outcome of that is at the end of your apprenticeship. So really demonstrate your personality and your desire to do that apprenticeship as well. Quite often that gets you further than just pure experience though.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, and I would also say ask questions at any point, any time. It's always a good thing to ask questions regardless. So yeah, I'd always bear that one in mind.
Well, you know what I do on the show then, I just ask questions.
Yeah.
But you're totally right. Personality, ask questions, show that you're interested in the opportunity, and then the world's your oyster, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about the payroll industry. What is it? Like, you said earlier that you never thought you would be in payroll, and you was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
So what is the payroll industry? In your words, and I know people might have different definitions of it, but talk about it in your words.
The payroll industry it's like a community. That is how I would describe it. I think it's huge. It's like the most knowledgeable people that you'll ever meet virtually or whatever. I think, it is. It's much more like a community. It feels like you're part of something bigger. I think that payroll kind of historically has been like not really seen as its own standalone industry. It was very much, is it finance, is it HR, like, I don't know. But it is its own thing, and it is so, it's just such a amazing thing to be a part of, really. That's how I describe it.
No one ever on this show, that we've even had the Prime Minister on, has ever called an industry a community. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah,
Isn't that good?
That's what it feels like. Like, for example, I've never met Natasha before. I've never met Sarah or Zoe. Like, but it just feels.
This is the first time you two meeting.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it feels so natural.
I thought you was like
normal.
best friends.
No. 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, literally. But you kind of feel like you know these people because that's how it feels on LinkedIn and being kind of like members of the CIPP as the charter body. You can tap into all of that knowledge, and everyone's just so social and kind, and it is a community. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Natasha, what would you say?
I'd say it's the silent industry. Everybody knows that you go to work to get paid, but so many people don't understand how you get paid. They think that it's just a case of someone transfers you some money on payday, but there's so much more to it than that. So for me, it's definitely the silent industry that's very misunderstood. Even for those that do directly work with payroll but don't know the intricacies, you don't quite grasp how much goes into it. And I think definitely as a youngster, you don't understand all the different processes you have to go through to get paid. So for me, it's definitely the silent industry.
It definitely is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when I'm an entrepreneur, and when Leon and I have to sit down and payroll, it's like we need a whole day.
Yeah.
Because you have to make sure everything's right, you have to make sure everything's holidays and everything in between is all added. And it's not just press a button, is it?
No, it definitely isn't. It's just so integral to the society, the economy, everything. Everyone gets a pay slip. It doesn't matter where you work, who you work for, you get a pay slip. And there's people in the background working furiously away at their computers that are processing those payrolls and those pay slips. And so I think very much I agree. It feels silent. It feels more like we're getting a bit louder. But
today we are.
Yeah.
We are indeed. Yeah.
And those two words wouldn't normally go into the same sentence, right? Silent, but a community. You wouldn't normally put them two together. Why do you think that is?
I think because the payroll industry have had to come together. They've had to make themselves recognised. They've had to join together as that community to push payroll as a profession, to make it recognised in the workplace as well. Still, in so many organisations, payroll doesn't get the credit that it deserves. Ultimately, your payroll is integral to your organisation. If your people aren't getting paid, they're not going to want to be there. So it's really important that your payroll is done right, and everyone has had to join together to be able to do that. And each payroll team is usually quite small. So within an organisation, you don't have that community. They've had to branch out across the industry to join together to get the recognition they deserve and really promote payroll within their own organisation, but then within the economy as well.
Isn't that kind of funny? Because most people, not everyone, but most people, one of the top 5 reasons why they go to work is to get paid.
Yeah. And you need payroll to be able to facilitate that.
Very much so.
So, talking a little bit about your job roles, like what does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
Mine is mostly processing of payrolls. So I work in a bureau, which means that we process payrolls for lots of different companies. So they Whereas you might have a company that does their payroll in-house. A lot of places decide, actually, we don't want to do that, or we don't have the expertise in-house, so we're going to outsource it, and that is where we would come in. So day-to-day, it is processing payrolls, it's processing pensions, it's talking to employees, it's helping them with their queries. They might have questions about their payslip, their tax, so on and so forth. Yeah, so that's very much what my day-to-day job looks like.
And what are some of the questions you normally get about the payslip?
I've paid too much tax. Why is this? Why is my tax code this? We get a lot of questions about statutory pay. So someone might have had some maternity pay. They might be querying why it's not what they thought it was, how it kind of works, and it's just being able to explain that to them in a way that they're going to understand and be able to take forward, because you kind of you wouldn't know it from anywhere else, but we're there to be asked that this is what we do on a day-to-day basis. We're the best people to ask, so
I might have to call you with
that. Please do.
But it's true, isn't it? Because
it is. So
many people in the UK, when it comes to financial well-being, don't understand their payslip at all.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer, and I've seen it time and time again. People shy away from things that look and feel scary or make them look stupid.
Yes. Yeah.
When actually you've got experts like you both and 100,000 others that can be there to support, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, I think that's so true. And a payslip looks complicated. It does. It doesn't matter where you get it from. It always looks confusing. But once someone's explained it to you, you don't need to know the intricacies of income tax or national insurance or anything like that. But if you know what your payslip is supposed to look like and kind of roughly what the figures should be and what your tax code means for you, you're already so far in advance of so many other people out there, and you can look at the changes when they come, if they come, and then you can be like, oh, okay, I'm not really sure about this, let me ask again. And that is what we're there for, and it's so important. People probably go years being on the wrong tax code, overtax, undertax, without realising, without kind of knowing that we're there to be asked and tell them and help them. That's
and is it fulfilling in terms of knowing that families are being fed, mortgages are being paid, that when you payroll people, it's their livelihoods, and it's such a personal thing.
Yeah.
A payslip.
It is such a personal thing. Yeah. I'm human. We all are. We make mistakes, but I take them so personally because I feel like, oh my goodness, there's such a responsibility on our shoulders to pay people correctly and on time, and all that stuff is so important. So yeah, it does feel fulfilling when you get it right, and when you're able to answer a question and they go in, they're happy and they understand. It's the best. It's the best feeling. Yeah, you're just like, thank goodness, that person is being paid what they're supposed to, and they're
and with responsibility comes fulfilment, right?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah, personally for me, it does. Yeah.
And Natasha, a bit about your job. Like, what do you do in your role?
So I come at payroll in a slightly different way. So I look after the CIPP's consultancy service and our payroll assurance scheme. So I don't process payroll myself or get involved at that granular level, but what I do is help organisations make sure that they are compliant, that their payroll departments are doing what they should be doing, and supporting the departments with any changes or transitions they need to make. So making sure that the organisation is doing it correctly for their employees. And then with the payroll assurance scheme, we give them a bit of a gold star, if you like, that they are doing everything correctly. So I come at it from a slightly different angle. I'm not processing the payrolls myself, but I'm still very heavily involved in the industry and promoting the correct standards, making sure that the organisations are doing what they should be doing, that they are compliant, so that the employees ultimately do get paid what they should, and for the organisation as well, that there's the benefits there for them, that they know that they're doing everything correctly, that they're paying all the taxes that they should be to HMRC, to make sure from an organisational level that they're protected as well.
So you can come from it from a number of angles, right?
Yeah.
You can get a job, a career, an apprenticeship in payroll and come at it from different roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, definitely. Within the industry, there's so many different ways that you can be involved, whether it is processing the payroll, whether it is going on to manage the department, so you're not necessarily processing but you're still responsible, or whether you come at a completely different angle. There's software within payroll, so you can look at the development side of things. There's roles like mine where I'm looking after the industry without processing the payroll myself, and at CIPP we have a lot of people that are very heavily invested in the industry but come from a variety of backgrounds, whether that be marketing, membership, education. So the industry is a lot broader than just processing payroll.
And CIPP, what does it stand for?
The Chartered Institute of Payroll Professionals. So we're the only chartered body in the UK for payroll professionals. So we support them. We're the place that they can come, be supported, train them, educate them and look after them, really.
And this is where the community bit kind of links in as well, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Big community focus.
What's something that you learned while being in payroll that you believe people who are not in payroll may not know?
Oh my goodness.
A lot.
Yeah.
Is there anything that stuck out that's kind of made you think, oh wow, you know the things in life that you do? Like since I've been doing this show, I've become a really good listener and my memory's got better. Is there anything in your kind of everyday jobs that's helped you with a skill or that you never thought that you would have got if you weren't in the industry?
I think for mine it could be listening as well, and really getting to understand what they need, because what they're telling you they want and what they think they need doesn't always match up with what they actually need. So it's been able to listen to what they're saying, have that understanding of obviously the payroll knowledge behind that, but then to be able to translate that into something that they actually need and that'll deliver value for them. So listening is really key. And even when you're processing the payrolls, you will get people come to you querying the pay slip. You need to be able to listen to what their query is. They're coming from a place of not understanding what this all means, so you need to be able to listen to what their query is to be able to resolve it for them. So yeah, I think for me it would be listening as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I think all forms of communication, so being able to listen and understand what it is they're wanting, and then being able to convey that back to them in the format that they understand.
Yeah.
So whether that's writing, phone calls, emails. So yeah, just communication.
Yeah.
Communication is key, right?
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
I want to go a little bit technical in terms of your apprenticeship. Yeah, like, so if I were to join on a payroll apprenticeship today, what can I expect? What would I do? What qualification am I getting? Like, how does it work?
So the one that I finished last year is the level 3 payroll administrator apprenticeship.
Cool.
So that is basically technical payroll, but at a basic level. So you could go in not knowing a thing about payroll, and you would come out thinking, I know some things about payroll now. So yeah, it's very much about you as an individual and your knowledge. So it covers tax, national insurance, statutory payments, pensions briefly, and you kind of, those modules are split out over the course of a year. I think it might be 18 months to a year to 18 months, and then once you've covered the modules and you feel like you're ready, you go through a gateway process, and then you are assessed to see if you can have your qualification, basically. So there's a multiple choice test, a project report, and then a professional discussion. So it does kind of cover all bases in terms of, if you don't really like tests, you get to speak. If you don't really like speaking, you get the test, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah, you do it whilst you're at work, like we talked about before.
Do you have to be good at maths? Do you have to be good at...
No. I'm not great at maths. I'm more of a writer. You don't have to be good at maths. You just have to want to learn. I think that is the main thing. A little bit of, tech with numbers, that doesn't make sense. A little bit of knowledge of numbers, it always helps, but you don't need to be good at maths. I think to get on the apprenticeship, you do need to have a maths GCSE. level. Oh, I'm not sure.
We can put that in the comments.
Yeah, because they've all changed since I did my GCSEs.
But you need to
yeah, you need to have that. But a lot of places of employment, your employer will support you to get that if you don't have it already. There is kind of gateways into apprenticeships and things like that. I don't know too much about them, but I know that they exist. So. And
how much is all this going to cost me? How much student debt am I going to get into?
Absolutely zero.
So it's zero. So you learn, you earn, and you don't have any fee for your apprenticeship.
Yeah, no cost to the employee at all. There's a small cost to the employer, but they can tap into the apprenticeship levy and use that for funding. Some places, I think they only pay 5% or something like that. Yeah. Some places they do, you can apply for 100% funding, in which case your employer wouldn't pay a penny. So as a student, an apprentice, you don't pay anything. You get paid, and your employer will pay a small amount or nothing. So
put you on it.
Yeah.
Wow. And what about are you doing level 7?
Yes, so I'm doing level 7. So once you get to sort of level 5, level 6 onwards, it moves away from the technical payroll knowledge. So my level 7, which is a master's, is in strategic leadership. So it's moving away from that technical knowledge, which it's assuming you've already built up, and it's moving on to how do you lead. So how do you go into management? How do you lead a team, lead a department? So my qualification looks at strategic leadership itself, leading and developing high-performing teams, and then all of the stuff that you need to be able to effectively lead and manage, so procurement, governance, finances, touches on all of those things, so it moves away from that technical knowledge. Largely it's assignment based, so if you're not good at exams, it's perfect. It's really writing about your experience to a degree. It's using what you've done in your career to date and evidencing that, and then tying in the academia with that as well. As at level 7 you do have to have that academic side to it. So not so much the technical knowledge, but looking at your skill set and teaching you the principles behind that.
So the apprenticeship level 7 leads to a master's?
Yes.
Wow. That's cool, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Because I know when obviously people in school and in education and starting out, yet again, an apprenticeship for any ages, that it can lead to a master's.
Yeah.
Because there's also still some, and you'll read it online, where, an apprenticeship's here and then a uni degree's over here. Well, actually, they're just joint in the middle now.
Yeah, they're the exact same. So the levels are the same regardless of how you achieve them, but particularly when going through the apprenticeships, they are still recognised qualifications. So at the end of my apprenticeship, I'll still come out with a Masters in Business Administration, the same way you would if you went to university and did that without the apprenticeship side to it. So it's exactly the same, completely comparable. You get the same qualification at the end of it.
Pathway to CEO, right?
Indeed it is.
And how long did your level 3 take you?
It took me just over a year. Yeah, and then I've just started doing the level 5, which I think is equivalent to a foundation degree or something like that. Cool. So again, it's the same route as
What happened to level 4?
Do you know what? I don't know. I think they must have just skipped that one.
I don't
know.
Yeah. They said you're so good on level 3. We'll just skip you.
I will. I don't know if a level 4 exists. I'm not sure about that one.
That's a bit random, isn't it?
It's a bit random, but yeah.
You can skip levels.
Yeah.
Wow, so you can skip levels as well?
Yeah, particularly for me doing my level 7, the highest qualification I had prior to that was level 4, so I don't have a level 5 or level 6, but what they can do, particularly with apprenticeships, is look at your experience. So I've got quite a few years of experience behind me, so that they took that into recognition and that replaced where a traditional qualification would need to. So if you have the relevant experience, you can jump the levels, which is what I did.
And how long did your level 4 take, and how long is your level 7 going to take or taken?
My level 4 took me 2 years. Very different setup in the way that was done, and my level 7 will take 18 months to 2 years as well.
Wow, that's exciting, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah.
What's your favourite thing about Payroll?
My favourite thing about Payroll?
And your jobs?
I think just how it is different every day, although you are, still process it, or in my job I'm still processing, but it is really never the same. There's so many pieces of legislation that we have to adhere to, and they change all the time, daily, sometimes hourly. It has been in the past. So I think just the fact that you kind of think that you've understood something, and they flip it around and they change
something
it.
new
It's
comes.
something new, and then,
Yeah.
or you get a new bit of case law comes in, and you're like, oh right, okay, is what we were doing correct, or do we have to amend it, and that kind of thing. I love that about it. I think it keeps it from getting boring. You know, it really does. It's the constant change and the discussions that you then have with your team and people in the industry. How are we going to action this? How is this going to work in practice? And the community thing comes in again, because you all kind of tap into each other's knowledge, and especially like being members of the CIPP, you can use their advisory line and things like that, and that is just so helpful when you're just kind of stuck. Especially, we're a small bureau, you know, there's only 8 of us. We've only got otherwise we'd only have our own knowledge, but we can just kind of access this whole world. Yeah, hello.
CIPP, what's going on?
I need your help. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I like.
And what about you?
For me, the passion within the industry, which sounds really cheesy to say, but everyone within the payroll industry is so passionate about what they do and about getting it right. And so many other people I talk to outside of the payroll industry and just general conversations, they don't have that same level of passion, that same level of care that those within the payroll industry do have. So I think for me it's definitely the passion, regardless of whether you are processing or whatever your role looks like in the payroll industry. It's that passion, that care that everybody within the industry seems to have.
I've noticed that. You're all like happy and excited and care.
Yeah.
And we must not upset you, because no one will get paid.
Yeah, definitely. We hold the power.
Yeah. You do. And why should someone do an apprenticeship? What, in one word, like why should someone, after watching this, do some research, quit college, leave Topshop and go and do it?
I think diverse is so diverse. I think you can you can be in the payroll industry, but you don't have to be processing payroll. You can be doing anything. There's operations, there's, you know, tax advice, there's international payroll. It is endless. The amount of opportunities that one kind of industry has, it's not like anywhere else. It really is so diverse. I think that would be what I would say. And you don't have to do a payroll apprenticeship. You can do, you know, a business analyst apprenticeship. There's someone where I work who's doing a business analyst apprenticeship, and we've got a data analyst apprenticeship, but we're all payroll, but it's just so diverse. Yeah, that's what, yeah.
I like that.
For me, I think doing an apprenticeship allows you to be very well-rounded. You're not just getting the qualification, you're seeing that theory behind it, you're getting to understand why what you're learning is relevant, and you're getting the experience to go along with that as well. If you're just reading something out of a textbook, you can't apply that, whereas when you're working alongside doing it, you can apply it, it makes sense. So at the end of it, I think you come out a very well-rounded individual, whereas you don't get that same experience if you just go into work or if you just go to university. So yeah, I think you come at the end a lot more well-rounded than you would have been otherwise.
Well-rounded and diverse. The CEO of Iris Software came on the show, and she said, when you surround yourself with diversity, your world gets bigger.
Yeah.
And you just said diverse. You said all-rounded.
Yeah.
It really
so
does.
You're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got one more question for both of you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
You sure you want to say yes? What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of the bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
I think wanting to learn, always wanting to learn something new, and being able to share that knowledge with my team, with others in the industry, and helping people. Really, that was always what I wanted to do. And it did take a different form for a while, but in this job, it's helping people with That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And my
Isn't that
cat,
lovely?
obviously.
Your cat and helping people.
Yeah.
Very similar for me. It's been able to help people, been able to help the individuals that approach me looking for support, and being able to improve the way that they work, the way that they feel about the way they're working, and improve my departments as I go along as well. So definitely help and improvement.
Wow, well, I just want to say thank you for investing time to come here today, to come on the show. I know it was a little bit daunting at the start, but now you're like, I've done it.
Yeah.
Isn't that okay?
Yeah.
But like just sharing why others should get into the industry. And payroll, from what I'm hearing from you, payroll is a great industry for others to get into if they are willing to stand up, do a bit of research, quit the college if they want to, and give it a go, right?
Yeah,
and there's so many diverse ways that you can get into the industry, but you just need to put one foot forward and give it a go.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining me on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you very
welcome.
much.
We'll wait until it goes out first to see if you like it. But I'm sure it's going to go down really well. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.